Monday's DCU Daily, I read you out the most based, fantastic, truthful and honest review of James Gunn's Superman I've read or seen thus far. In fact, this may be the most based, honest review I've read in over 20 years. Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. I am Mick, your host with the most to start your girlfriends, wives, and especially your boyfriends and your husbands. A very warm welcome back to Movies TV Mad. I am Mick, of course I am, and you can follow me on X Twitter at Movies TV Mad, and on Instagram and on Threads at Movies TV Mad, X on Snapchat, BMouth60, and on TikTok, Mad Mickey's World. And a very warm welcome to Sunday's edition of the DCU Daily. Every morning I update my social media and I go up my timelines, and I was on X Twitter. I was expecting to see the normal leftist and rightist BS propaganda, the Gunn bros versus the Snyder bros, and all the other BS and propaganda people are pushing, because everyone's in these echo chambers, aren't they, these days? And there's no honesty. But then all of a sudden, to my very shock, I was shocked to my core to read an honest review about Superman 2025 from James Gunn. And as I was reading it, when you read something thought-provoking and honest, you just think, wow, this guy isn't a Gunn bro. He's not a Snyder bro. He's just the guy who watched the movie. So shall we give this review, this based review, a read? I think so. Finally saw Superman on HBO last night. Oh, Superman has one histrionic outburst after another and wonders why he's mistrusted. Way too beta. His parents are from Kansas and sound and act like they were inbred in Kentucky. So true. I mean, the casting and the dialogue and the way the parents act, I mean, they're the worst Martha and Jonathan Kent I've seen in live action. It's a narrative mess, as scenes jump confusingly. Too many characters with no intro to who they are. I know Steve Lombard's background, but a normie doesn't. Perry White smokes a cigar with no smoke or ash. Very true. Calling fight plays during a fight. That's idiotic. We never see Metamorpho do anything to break up the war at the end, yet there he is all of a sudden. He goes on. I have one unbreakable rule when it comes to movies and entertainment. Make me care. I'll buy all kinds of bullshit you are selling if I care about the characters and stakes. For Superman, I didn't care. And that's the point. Neither did I. I didn't care. Superman is my most beloved, favourite character in fiction. My favourite fictional character since I was a small boy who saw Superman 78 with his father and his brother one winter's night. It was such an amazing experience. By the way, this was not an amazing experience. And I'm sorry, I can't remember the guy's name who wrote this on X Twitter, because I wanted to give him a shout out. If you're the person, I gave you a quote tweet and a retweet, I gave you a GIF applause and everything. And so if you're watching this, by the way, by some miracle, yeah, get in touch with me, because I felt you gave a really great review. You clearly understand movies. You see, to understand entertainment, you don't have to work within it. All you have to do is have watched movies and television all your life, and know what you like and know what you don't like, and know when someone's trying to sell you a fucking turkey. This film is a turkey. Every single adaptation of Superman, animated or live action, has a vision. Even the ones you don't like have a vision. Even Superman 3 has a vision. Let's take Clark Kent as an adult back to Smallville. Let's have computer technology as the kind of commentary in this film and make it the villain of this film. Superman 4, let's talk about nuclear arms disarmament, right? A cheap film that withdrew its budget, but the moral of the story stands tall within it. And that's deemed to be the worst Superman movie ever made. It's not. James Gunn's Superman 2025 is the worst Superman film ever made. This guy had over $230 million or whatever he had. He couldn't make the guy fly convincingly. The effects are awful. Awful. This is a guy that's pulled visual effects off in Guardians of the Galaxy, right? He's done it well before. I don't think James Gunn's the greatest of visual directors. Let's be honest about that. But this film is cheap. It's lazy. It's rushed. There's no explanations. As he said about Steve Lombard, we know who Steve Lombard is, but there's no real explanation, and Normie doesn't. Now, we had a Steve Lombard in Man of Steel, but basically the way Snyder and Gunn and Nolan do him, he's just this guy in the office, right? You can tell he's a jerk. You can tell that he tries to chat up women, right? But he's not a bad guy as such, right? He's just a little bit, yeah. He's that, he's that office jerk, if you like. And I think the one in Man of Steel, to me, was much better than the one in James Gunn's Superman. One of the things I was disappointed about, because I loved him, by the way, I forgot the actor's name, brilliant actor, he was also in the Penguin series on Max, wasn't he? I think it's Michael Kelly, is it Michael Kelly? Fabulous actor, by the way, been around for years. He should have been in BVS, what a shame, because I thought he was really good. I really liked him. Much better version of Steve Lombard than the one in Superman. But this review is so based, it's so honest, right? Even if you don't agree with it, it's honest, it comes from the heart. He talks about Superman having these histrionic outbursts. And forget people not trusting him within the movie, how can I see him as Superman? I understand what Gunn was trying to do in that interview with Superman and Lois. He's trying to do another version of the iconic interview in Superman 78, but the one in Superman 78 is romantic. It's beautiful. It's honest. I mean, Lois Lane even mocks Superman in Superman 78 when he goes, I'm here to uphold truth, justice, and the American way. And she goes, well, you're going to end up fighting every elected official. And he goes, I'm sure you don't mean that, Lois. That's actually brilliant. You have a cynical Lois Lane, but a patriotic Superman. It's actually the foreigner, the outsider, who's being more patriotic to the human system than the human being, who's actually human. I love that. And Tom Mankiewicz was genius in writing that balcony scene. This doesn't work. I get what he's saying. People were going to die. I get it. Superman's passionate about saving people's lives. It's just not executed in the right way. You see, Superman talks too much in James Gunn's Superman because James Gunn talks too much. His inspiration for Superman and Lex Luthor in that movie is himself. He says he sees himself as both Superman and as Lex Luthor. The other day he was talking about what he wants to do with Lex in Man of Tomorrow. He wants to get down to the core of the character. He wants to open him up and wants us to get to know him. And tell us actually he's not a bad guy. He is. What Man of Tomorrow is, it's another Guardians of the Galaxy ripoff from James Gunn. Most people try and hide the fact they're one-trick ponies. We're all one-trick ponies, right? The style of my videos every day is very, very similar, right? I can't be fucking nerd-rodic or anyone popular or successful. I can only be me, right? This is me. I'm consistent to myself, and I talk about different things and, different parts of the DC universe every day. Things that are trending, things that are not trending, things that are in my mind and in my heart. But James Gunn doesn't hide the fact that he's a one-trick pony. But you can't run a DC universe doing the same version of the same movie. And that's what he's doing with Man of Tomorrow. Superman is yet another Guardians of the Galaxy ripoff. That's why all those DC characters are in it. But there's another reason all those DC characters are in it. Because he didn't have a vision on Superman. He couldn't base a movie totally on Superman. Because he never wanted to write and direct the Superman movie. He was pushed into it. He even tried to resist or get out of directing Superman, and Peter Safran and David Zaslav wouldn't allow him to. You wrote it, mate, you've got to direct it. You know, and nobody was going to direct that movie when they read that script. It's obvious, right? I don't think he's the greatest of writers, by the way, but his idea of doing stories about people who have maybe done slightly the wrong things in their life, right? Are very rough and ready, but then a call to action to be better people is the reason he became successful, because there's emotional relevance in doing stories like that. But once you've done it once, or maybe even twice or thrice, people are getting wise to you. Is this all you can do, James? Yes, it's all he can do. And this is exactly what Man of Tomorrow is going to be. And the whole thing is, he didn't have a vision for Superman. Superman is about launching a franchise to make big bucks. It didn't make big bucks. Peacemaker 2 didn't get much attention. If Superman was so successful, why isn't Peacemaker 2 equaling the numbers and ratings of the Penguin series? There's a reason for that. The Penguin series is a spin-off of a critically acclaimed movie. Now, Superman is also critically acclaimed, but I think we can say that the critical acclaim isn't honest. That's why I found this review so honest by an ordinary Joe, an ordinary fan, because it's honest, right? It's honest and to the point. All those verified critics, they lie. They lie so they can have access, so they can get a pat on the back from famous people. But it doesn't matter how many critics are, you know, saying things are great, or members of Access Media saying things are great. We know they're lying about modern day entertainment. We know most of modern day entertainment is shite. And these people, so they can keep on getting access, are lying. We fought to release the Snyder Cut, right? Do you remember? And these fuckers were lying. The ones with all the views on their YouTubes, they don't matter. The power of the people, everyone, will always win through. The power of the people won through when we fought to release the Snyder Cut. Right now, changing the subject slightly, we've got the Jimmy Kimmel situation. People around the world are standing up and unsubscribing from Disney Plus. People, ordinary people with not much money, not famous. There's billions of us around the world. And when we all stand up and say fucking no, we win. It's us who has the power, not the corporations, not the governments. Imagine if 1 billion people stood around the world and said we're not paying our taxes. What could they do? Could they put us all in prison? No! There's nothing they can do when the people stand up and say no, this is wrong. What they did to Snyder was wrong. And we stood up, we found all the information, you know, Zach kind of laid some of the breadcrumbs, more breadcrumbs than Hansel and Gretel ever laid out, right? And we stood with a director and we said no. We won and Zach won through the power of ordinary people. It's us who have the power, not Hollywood, not Access Media, not influencers. Ordinary fucking people hold the key, hold the power. The critics don't have the power. The influencers don't have the power. The studios don't have the power. Daniel RPK doesn't have the power. Blu-ray Angel doesn't have the power. I have the power, you have the power, and billions of people around the world have the power. We can stand up and say no. We are basically the analogy of Mel Gibson's Braveheart movie. When people stand up against tyranny, and when something's wrong, it's a beautiful thing. We have the power. No honey, no money. If we close our wallets, right, like they're doing to D+, like we did this year to Superman, right? Wallets closed. It worked. They made a piddly $620 million. If we supported that movie, because I saw it for free, I didn't pay for it, right? I saw it once and once was fucking enough. So, they could have made 800 to 1 billion. If everyone came together to support that movie, But that movie wasn't even good enough. But you see, that's the thing I like about this review. He's probably one of the few people that's actually composed a review that's fucking honest. Verified critics should try doing that.